Hello and welcome to Max Spoilers from MinnMax. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Ross Star Wars Fund.
Hello.
Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
If you're not a Patreon supporter, you might have missed our commentary tracks. We recorded commentary tracks for both Force Awakens and Last Jedi to get everybody just primed, ready to go for Rise of Skywalker.
And I'm glad we watched those again so soon before Rise of Skywalker because there are a fair amount of callbacks.
Oh boy, are there. Yeah, so we're going to just spoil everything in Rise of Skywalker. So obviously don't watch this unless you've seen the film at this point. But we do recommend supporting the Patreon at patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns and checking out those commentary tracks if you want to learn more. I literally just got out of the theater. I sat in my seat as the credits were rolling, and I wrote down as many notes as I could about things I wanted to talk about. When did you see this movie?
Looks like a huge list. I saw it this morning at 11, so that's about 12 hours ago.
Okay, so you've had some time to process.
Yep.
Okay, I don't want to know what exactly you think of the movie yet, because this is all a surprise for me. But while processing the movie, has the arrow gone down or up?
Ooh, it's gone in both directions, I would say. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So, the second the credits roll, what is your take on The Rise of Skywalker?
I was like, that was pretty fun. And I was also like, if you are a C-3PO fan, this is the movie for you.
What a wonderful place to start. You know what, MinnMax, we like being positive. I was worried about this one myself. C-3PO, what a wonderful place to start.
I mean, it's probably his best performance in all 9 movies. He gets tons of screen time. He steals every scene he's in.
Yeah, the joke, like there's that weird jump cut joke where he's like, don't you put that thing in me, and then just jump cut to R2-D2 hijacking into his brain. Thinking about it on the drive back to this MinnMax studio, luxurious MinnMax studio, I was thinking about, like, what were some of my favorite jokes? And it was subtle, and it didn't get a big laugh, but I like just the little throwaway thing when they're about to, like, hack into his brain. He's like, wait, I've thought of another plan! And it's just, like, already lights out. Yeah.
Too late. I was a big fan of the one where they're on Pisana, desert planet number 1, and he says something ridiculous, and everybody looks at him with shock and disgust, and he slowly turns around as though they're looking at something behind him.
That was a great joke.
So good.
Well, hang on. So I love that, but then I'm like, I don't understand what the joke was exactly. Was the joke that, because he was talking about how cool the festival, right? Like the Burning Man festival going on there. Were they implying that he brought them there at that specific time because of that? But
That's where they had to go. I think they were saying, why are you telling us all these details about this festival when it's a matter of life or death for the galaxy?
Right.
Why could this possibly be important to you?
Okay.
And they just stare at him, and he's like, oh, there must be something behind me that everyone's looking at.
It's very fun. And then outside of C-3PO getting a lot of great moments, R2-D2, I know you're hoping for a big hero moment. Does it count with him hijacking into and like installing C-3PO's memory again?
I doubt it. I mean, R2 did not get a whole lot of screen time in this one either.
It's robbed.
It's a shame.
But Chewie.
Yeah.
Like up there with 3PO for like this is a Chewie heavy film, man.
How weird does Chewie look when he's naked?
Oh, interesting.
He didn't have the bandolier on.
Maybe
and
that's
I was
why
just I shouldn't be watching this. Chewie, put some clothes on.
Also, in like the opening when he's playing Hollow Chess, like having that much of a close up of Chewie, I've never seen a shot that tight on Chewie's face. It's like you can really see the makeup around his eyes and stuff.
Yeah, I love the implication that Chewie has been practicing Hollow Chess for the last 40 years.
Right.
And now he's really good at it, and no one can beat him.
Yeah. He really got put through his paces. Like he had 2 big acting performances there towards the end. We're all over the place. We'll get back on track in a bit. But him like reacting to Leia's death, or he's just doing the why God, why take me, like beating on there.
Don't console me.
Yeah, that was interesting. And then also him getting the medal at the end.
Oh yeah.
And he has like a little fist bump and like a wide shot where he's like, huzzah!
Ooh,
like
I didn't notice that. That's great.
It made me laugh just today that like, well, we beat the final order, and your reaction is, yeah.
Finally got this medal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that medal, that is kind of a good lightning rod for a lot of this film, right? Like, on the drive home again, I was thinking about, like, if you're on board with that level of fan service of effing Chewie getting a medal from Maz Kanata, makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Unless Maz was in the audience in A New Hope and remembered that thing that fans started to notice about 17 years after A New Hope came out, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I actually, had one of the few things I had heard about this movie before going into it was that there was a lot of fan service. And so maybe my expectations for the fan service were sky high.
Yeah.
I did not think there was that much. I mean, there were a lot of callbacks.
Right.
But in terms of like straight up fan service, I don't know.
You're right. I had a $20 bet with Game Informer's Jeff Cork because I bet that you were going to see Hayden Christensen and Mark Hamill on camera together as Force Ghosts.
yeah.
Like, I thought it was going to be to that level. And I guess you're right. Like, it wasn't so over the top, beating over the head with complete fan service. But I think maybe when people talk about fan service in this movie, it's just little almost jabs at Last Jedi in a way. Like, I think of like, her going back to the island and then just having, like, the lines that Luke has are hilarious in terms of Last Jedi, where he's just like, you need to have more respect for a lightsaber. And I'm sure some people will take that out of context. I think it was knowingly a little bit cheeky, right?
Yeah, Luke's making a joke,
Yeah. But then also he literally follows up that line by just saying, I was wrong.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That is the story of The Last Jedi.
You're
though.
right. You're right.
That's the text of The Last Jedi. It's not some like out of universe comment. Like in Last Jedi, he was wrong to like sequester himself on the island, and he comes to his senses by the end and helps them. So I mean, that's not necessarily any kind of
extreme throwing under the bus.
Yeah.
Okay, so
if anything, like what was thrown under the bus from Last Jedi was like Rose, who had nothing to do in this movie and is not even like her relationship with Finn is not even mentioned.
It's unbelievable. It's like to the level of like, in the Marvel universe, thinking about like how the Russos treated what Joss Whedon was trying to set up between Bruce Banner and Scarlet Widow. Like, oh, there's a relationship here. And then by the time the other films come around, it's like, yeah, we're not really. We might have a slight nod to it. And that was about the most. Like there was one scene where they kind of interacted and like screamed at each other in the final battle.
Sure.
But outside of that, what was going on that planet? Yeah. Rose, the Hobbit, all the fellas, Leia's rug. Like everything was just like, I was waiting for some more fun to happen on that planet. It was just like
You're
that one.
You're talking about the Resistance base planet?
It was just like that one quick little planning scene. It's like, all right, and we're off this planet. Let's go. And then I guess the celebration.
Yeah. Not a whole lot going on there.
I guess we should just zoom out.
Okay.
I'm flying all over the place.
Yeah.
Throughout that movie and by the end, I was like, well, this is definitely my least favorite of the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of hot takes online that it's like the worst Star Wars ever. I think that's insane.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe not insane.
It's almost like the polar opposite of Last Jedi, because what J.J. Abrams does better than anybody is like moment-to-moment fun. Like character interactions, like little throwaway jokes, like all that kind of stuff. And Rise of Skywalker has all of that.
Nowhere near the level of charm that like Force Awakens has.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But what it doesn't have is like a plot that is that interesting, really, or goes in different.
It should be the most interesting thing.
Yeah,
and it just, I think, my whole takeaway was watching. I was like, what does this remind me of? It is so fast, and I think it's a stretch to call it dumb. But those are the two words in my mind. Like, this is fast and a little bit dumb.
Moved so fast.
Unbelievable. And I realized about halfway through, I'm like, and it's probably because the writer is connected to the DC universe, but I realized like it feels like a current DC movie. It feels like a Suicide Squad.
You're talking Chris Terrio?
Yes. Just like that, or even it's not to the level of Justice League, anywhere near it, but like just that tempo where it's like, I do not know what emotion to have during these scenes, and it's moving so fast, it's hoping that I don't care.
Yeah, and so the thing that Last Jedi had was a clear, like, story arc for each character.
Yeah.
And Rise of Skywalker, I don't think Finn and Poe have story arcs, do they? Really?
No, and it's insane to think specifically of, like, thinking about Poe and his lesson from Last Jedi, which was, hey, don't be a cowboy flyboy. Like, take your time, plan things out. People's lives are in your hands. And then his grand finale here is, F it, we have 14 ships, let's go. It's like that entire plan. I was like, surely they're going to talk more about this. But it's like, no, we are just there face to face with 3,000 Star Destroyers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like there might have been a missed opportunity for Finn and Rose when he stays behind on the deck of the Star Destroyer to, hijack its gun to blow it up.
Right.
Because his big thing was, the suicide run at the end of Last Jedi that she saves him from.
Right.
And it seemed like he was kind of doing that same thing again, maybe.
Here's a weird thing. This is by far my least favorite of the new trilogy. And it made me think, like, as a trilogy, as an overall unit, I mean, it has to be the weakest trilogy batch out of all Star Wars, right? Like, obviously, the highs of the last two movies are way better than the prequels, but, like, to have these three movies, these sequel films, you could literally cut Last Jedi out of it, and it would still work 95% as well.
Yeah.
That's insane. I think that's a failure of a trilogy.
Yeah, the thing that the prequels have going for them over everything else is the plot. The plot is
Clear, like the big picture, yeah.
Yep, and there's a beginning and an end, and it all makes sense. And it starts somewhere and it ends another place, and a story has been told. And the sequel trilogy doesn't necessarily have that. And I mean, there wasn't like one guiding force in terms of storytelling like there was with George Lucas, obviously.
Right.
So in some ways it's a lot harder for it to do that, probably.
Yeah, and it's this weird thing, and we'll never get the full understanding of exactly how this worked, but it felt like with Force Awakens, this movie really made me appreciate the magic of Force Awakens, by the way. Like, for that movie to have as much heart and humor as it does, it's just a miracle that could get through a corporation. But looking back on Force Awakens, it's like, I think the message was, we need to kickstart Star Wars for a new generation, clearly. So like, all right, let's get some new characters, give them personality, let's move, let's keep this rolling. And then, oh God, we need to somehow wrap up this thing called the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, you have to like...
They really did not have many maneuvers to tie everything together in a neat bow, which leads to the biggest plot reveal of Rise of Skywalker, the Palpatine stuff.
Yeah. Which, if you are all of a sudden in a position where, as J.J. Abrams was, where he's taking over this movie, like, long after it should be rolling smoothly, it's what the movie felt like to me, like a story that was kind of written, by the seat of their pants, sort of.
Which is also Force Awakens, though, to be fair, right?
Yeah, I guess that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they might have had more lead time with Force Awakens than they did with this one. But of course, you have a lot more established, backstory and whatever for this than they did with Force Awakens. So maybe that evens out.
Yeah.
But,
do you think as the years go by, you're going to be annoyed that Disney as a corporation couldn't just take an extra year to sit on the story and think about it?
It's hard to say. Would it be better if they did that? Who knows?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, once maybe JJ's on board and it's like, we're like, okay, this is going to be the end of this storyline and all 9, main Star Wars movies. Like, bringing back the Emperor is almost the only thing you can do at that point to try to tie them together,
and
right?
It feels a little bit clumsy, but at the same point, like, I think some of the most interesting stuff that I had to chew on throughout the movie was, like, towards the end, that idea of, like, okay, the idea of it coming down to a Skywalker and a Palpatine again, trying to course correct the universe. Like, there's something interesting about, okay, so this saga is always boiling down to now these two families. What the hell's with Palpatine? Who's he banging? What's going on with Rey's parents?
I would like to know more about his family. I think that there is some untapped but already created story material in that George Lucas live action series that never got going.
Oh, you think like the Underworld stuff?
I remember reading about, like, there's a Palpatine's, tragic love life episode of that or something, which I would,
Wait, because when was that set? Was that before 4?
It's probably in between 3 and 4, I would guess.
That would be fascinating if that's where they're pulling that from.
Tons of stuff has been pulled from that. Like Saw Gerrera was originally a character in that, and then
interesting.
He got pulled out for Rogue One and
then
literally
Fallen
everything
Order.
else, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. When you bring the Emperor in, one thing that you do get is Ian McDiarmid, who is fantastic at all times.
He's
So
just, I mean,
anytime he's on screen, that's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I mean, his voice is so fantastic. He really gets to ham it up. Doesn't get to fly around too much. It's like, it must have been weird to be like, hey, you're coming back. Yeah. You'll be standing in about a 3-foot radius, but you'll have a hell of an audience.
Yeah.
Like, oh, who are those weirdos just hanging out down there forever with them?
Also, and this may be the thing that gets you to sign on to this movie, you will have a jar of Snokes.
Okay. What were you thinking when you saw that? What was going through your head?
I mean, when you know the Emperor's coming back, you're like, okay, so obviously he was behind Snoke. And so the leap from there to jar of Snokes for any occasion is not that far. So I didn't bat an eye, really. And neither did Kylo Ren. He was totally fine with it.
That is true. And it's like, it was so weird seeing that and then just realizing like, oh, yeah, this is all the movie's going to do to talk about Snoke. Is just, and I thought it was a really cool move where he's like, the voice in your head has been me the whole time. And it transitioned to Snoke and then to,
Darth Vader,
you get Darth Vader at the end there. I thought that was a really cool move.
Yeah, that was neat. And, honestly, I'm a little surprised that they gave that much lip service to wrapping up the Snoke plotline.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised if they had just, let it ride.
Right. What? Okay, so remember in Last Jedi, the implication at least was that it was Snoke that was connecting Rey and
Kylo.
Yes. Now in this one, is it assumed that Snoke was lying and that he wasn't connecting them, that it was the Force, or it's now the Emperor always connecting those two again?
Or once they're connected, are they now connected?
Okay, I'll go with that.
Could be that. Yeah, I don't think you can say that Snoke wasn't doing it because I think that's the only thing that makes sense for Last Jedi. But that was one of the best parts of this movie, I thought, was how well it used the, long distance connection between Kylo and Rey.
But I remember during the commentary we were talking about like, oh, it's so cool how simple that is, just shot, reverse shot. And now it's like, especially when he's in or she's in his museum and they're having the lightsaber fight, it's like, oh, this is getting so complicated.
Yeah, and he slashes that basket of berries, that handmade good. First Order hates those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he kept the bowcaster? That was a weird detail, wasn't it?
What? Fill me in on that. What happened?
So in his collection of goodies, he has Vader's helmet, and then he had the bowcaster.
Okay, and the bandolier from Chewie, right?
Yeah.
He just had all Chewie's stuff, I guess.
What a weird move.
Yeah, I mean, he knew Chewie as a young boy.
That's true.
Assume,
That's true.
Yeah.
So it was striking to me on the snowy planet, the Kerry Russell planet. It looked like he left the Vader helmet behind there.
Yeah, I assume that he did,
But I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, at this point, if he's like, the Emperor was behind all this, all this stuff that happened to me.
Hang on, I'm just remembering bits of the movie as we're talking here. And maybe it's your red shirt that's reminding me. Remember that scene where Kylo Ren took control of the training droid and was like just shooting Rey? What was that?
I was like, is that what happened? Or is that what we're to believe? Or was it just that she was like getting frustrated? I don't
know.
It was he took control of the training droid and was like, guess what?
I think so. I think that's what was going on.
If that is the case, I am 100% in favor of it.
He should have shot her in the eyes or something. He's just like still like pew pew. It's like a weird flirting,
just
dude.
Making her mad. Yeah, it's like pulling somebody's pigtails, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So were you on board with the Palpatine reveal? What was your reaction when they started building towards a new parent reveal?
Yeah, you knew that she was gonna have her last name revealed when that little girl was like, "Tell me your last name, Ray."
By the way, those aliens I thought looked amazing.
Yeah.
That was some of my favorite design in the entire film.
Alien kids were extremely adorable too. Yeah. So when that happens, you're like, oh, she's gonna have a last name, and then when the Emperor or Kylo Ren, I forget who brings this up, is like, there's more to her than than whatever. You're like, okay, it's probably she's related to the Emperor in some way.
You assumed that right away?
Yeah, that's my guess. So yeah. I mean, it is super weird that the Emperor just had a normal dude son who just has a nice family.
It's just basically Dr. Evil and Scott? Is that the relationship they have?
I think so, yeah.
And was it for sure the son?
I think so. That's to my memory is what they said.
He looked young. Like it would have been Emperor like post episode 3.
Yep, you would assume so. I mean,
what's his dating life like? Well, how does that happen? What was this film?
The good news about Star Wars is that we will have that story told at some point, and I can't wait.
Yes,
I want that story. I also want more Babu Frick.
Very fun surprise.
Yeah.
Theater seemed to enjoy Babu Frick a fair amount.
He's super enthusiastic, which I really appreciate.
The little baby, yeah.
Yeah, like...
He made it sound a lot like Popeye at a certain point. It's like, what is happening?
Yes. When 3PO, loses the memory and he's like introducing himself to everybody and they're just like, whatever. And Babu Frick's like, I'm Babu Frick. He's like, I'll introduce myself to you. We're friends now. One of his oldest friends, Babu Frick.
Yeah, that's right. That was a good one too. Yeah, that's a new secret for Star Wars. I think is to just make your characters smaller and cuter. Even like the cool looking aliens on Desert Planet and the big party in the beginning. Like even they had babies. They're putting them right in the front of the camera, making sure you saw these cute things in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. Speaking of Desert Planet, where we first meet Lando.
Oh yeah.
What do you think Lando's life is like right now? Is he just driving that thing around? I would have appreciated just some indication of what he's up to, really.
I have no idea. Send Leia my love. But then also at the end, one of the oddest things was that lady, the horse trainer lady. Do you remember her name? Jana?
Jana.
But her just saying, like, I don't know where I came from. And he's like, we'll see about that.
Yeah, let's go find out. It kind of seemed like he was hitting on her. I don't know.
It was confusing.
I mean, it's Lando, so maybe we're just assuming that.
Well, at first I was like, are they going to reveal that they are related in some way? But it's like, no, I think they're just like setting up the tease for potentially another adventure with those two characters.
Yeah, or it's like... a rare case of the older generation doing right by the younger generation. That's like a big theme of the movie is that the young people have to clean up the mess that their parents created.
Right.
Which, I mean, I guess that's the original trilogy as well with Luke and Leia.
It's every story, man.
Yeah.
Leia. You want to unpack this?
So it's tough. I'm like inclined to be generous to the movie, partly because obviously Carrie Fisher passing away is a major hurdle that they had to try to fix. And you could really feel like when going into it that they are reusing old footage, like unused takes or unused scenes, you can really see how they're writing around those lines.
So she's just like reacting to a lot of things and trying to make her lines more clever by like giving her the setup of Lifetime. But it is the Leia soundboard. And like I would love to hear from somebody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
The production and the realities of what happened there, like how jarring it is. But like watching it, it's just I was wincing the whole time. It's like, okay, this isn't a disaster, but this is clearly noticeable, and it's making me uncomfortable. And then like it goes from that scene to then Rey running over and interacting with Poe, and it's just like, oh, thank God! Like they're interacting, they're warm, it's fun. It's just like it's almost doing a little bit of an injustice to Carrie Fisher just to like give her this very stiff, weird back and forth. Like, I mean, I didn't expect Dio to have more lines than Carrie Fisher.
Dio voiced by J.J. Abrams?
Apparently, sure.
But so I mean, obviously they did the best with what they had.
For sure.
You can't just write Leia out.
Yeah.
So, based on what they could do, it was probably as good as it could be.
They think they might have pushed it a little too far.
Tried to do a little too much.
Just kept it 40% tighter and not had as many wincy moments. You know?
Okay. What do you think about Leia's death scene?
This is my overall problem with this movie. Is there's so many things that it's like I should be feeling so much right now. I should be caring so much right now, and I don't. Hang on. Let me really think. I don't know if I really was moved throughout the movie.
It's tough. You're talking through the whole movie or just the Leia stuff?
I mean, I think the most moving scene is Rey reacting when she thinks she killed Chewie. Right? I thought that was like a really interesting thing. And maybe we can unpack that later. But focusing on the Leia death, it was like, well, she's got to go out in some way. It's interesting that they're making her go out in a way that's so similar to Luke of just ambiguous, I guess, projection. But then the part that killed me, and there's a lot to unpack here with Kylo, is trying to understand when they both disappeared at the same time. It's like, is that just a beautiful coincidence, or is it implying there was more of a connection and Leia was helping to like fuel him throughout the end or something?
That's a good observation. I had not come to any conclusions or had any ideas about that. So I kind of like that idea. Like the implication when she projects herself to talk to him or whatever during that lightsaber battle on the Death Star. The implication is that she basically was like, "Hey, it's your mom. I forgive you."
Yeah.
Right? That's what happened. And that's what shocked him into dropping his lightsaber. Rey grabs it, stabs him.
It seemed like she stabbed him all the way through, but then the wound was just like a little bit. You're not seeing through him like a cartoon character or anything.
That's true. Has that did we see through Han Solo when he got
We should have. We really should have. Yeah, the camera swings around, I think.
Yeah, and so Harrison Ford, I was pretty surprised. Like,
I was
he showed
surprised.
up. I thought he was totally done with Star Wars, so I never expected him to appear.
Yes, for sure. And I think I wonder if they would have done that if Carrie Fisher hadn't have died. I think they just realized like we need some bigger connections to draw this thing out, and we got to do what we can. There's a loose reason to have some sort of vision from the past, right?
Yeah, and they go out of their way to clarify that Kylo Ren is like, this is just my memory, and not a Force ghost. Right?
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
They're like, he's not a Force ghost. Kylo's like, I'm just remembering you.
Yeah.
And it was, it's pretty heavy-handed. It's pretty on the nose for Kylo to do for them to do the whole thing again, where he's like, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength. But it totally worked for me. So
yeah. So the entire turn for Kylo you bought?
I totally did. I was prepared not to. But
it's pretty quick, man.
Yeah, Adam Driver is really good.
He's so good.
Anything that he's doing is, some of the best stuff in the movie.
His latest Fresh Air interview was just fantastic.
I haven't seen it.
No, I'm just messing with you. Did you hear that story?
No.
He was doing an interview with Terry Gross on Fresh Air, and apparently they played a clip from Marriage Story, which is quite good, with Adam Driver, where he's singing in it, and he's like, I cannot hear myself. And Terry goes like, oh, just stick around, just please. And he walked out of the studio and they had to scrap the entire interview.
Oh, no.
But it's like, yeah, that's a dick move. But at the same time, like, you cannot imagine the pressure that dude's under right now. And he's had to give so many crappy interviews. And Terry Gross is a pro, but still, like, he's just fried. Whatever.
Yeah.
But the turn, it's weird to have everything kind of couched just in, well, if I don't buy it fully, then you just have to invest more in that idea that, like, no, Leia used the Force to really nudge him in the right direction, right? They gave themselves some wiggle room of like, here's an external reason that can fill any gap for any doubt you have left. And like, I was more fascinated just why he throws his lightsaber. It's like, is touching the lightsaber just because he used it to kill his dad, so he just want to be connected to it in any way?
A symbolic gesture. Those have a lot of meaning in Star Wars, right?
I guess so. But then it was weird seeing him with the blaster towards the end there, going up against like the Knights of Ren and stuff. But I thought it was interesting just like how they tried to suddenly, when he was no longer on the dark side, it's like now he's Mr. Jokes. Yeah. Like he had some charm and had some personality, but like, when he made that jump, then he's like, ow.
Yeah.
Or like, when he...
yes. It lands on the big chain and wasn't expecting it to hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And there's that weird moment too where he gets the lightsaber and then he goes like...
He's like, guess what?
Gets the weird shrug move.
My favorite moment of the entire movie, though, when Rey puts the saber behind her back and she like, uses their connection to force mail it to him.
I'm so stupid. I did not realize.
Did you think that she sent it behind her?
I thought she sent it
through the air. I thought that originally too, but then I was like, oh wait, she probably used their connection, which we have seen things transfer locations.
Of course, yeah, that's completely set up. That's so stupid.
It's such a cool moment. Great use of great payoff for that whole connection that they had.
Yeah,
and I must just be a sucker for lightsabers appearing in somebody's hand because all three sequel movies, that's my favorite moment when the lightsaber flies into Rey's hand on Starkiller at the end of Force Awakens, Episode 8, when it cuts through Snoke, and then she reaches her arm up and it just choo.
Yeah.
And then this one when he's like, hey, guess what?
Right.
She just sent me some Force mail.
when Luke caught the lightsaber?
Oh, yeah, that was cool,
was
too.
that for you?
Yeah, that was great.
Please don't throw it into the wreckage of this
you
ship.
You should really treat a Jedi weapon with more respect.
Yeah, exactly. The Let's see. Okay,
And
so
then remember when we were doing the commentary, we talked about how that shot of the X-Wing in the water, we're like, I thought that was going to set something up that was going to pay off, and it paid off in this one.
I
So
did
that
not
was
expect
a
her
nice
to go
little
back
moment.
to the island, and raise it up. But it's like, oh, that is nice. That's like a nice thread to continue from Last Jedi, and now it'll look a little bit
more connected,
more seamless throughout the sequel trilogy. I guess there was some logic. They were actually stringing things along.
I like that she got a sad hood too when she went there. She was like, I'm in exile, I'm gonna give myself a hood.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows.
Okay, so that big finale with the fight, having the two lightsabers is cool.
Yep.
Again, I just walked out of this theater. I just saw it the one time. I could have sworn when it showed that flashback of Luke and Leia training, didn't one of them have a green lightsaber, one of them have a blue?
Yeah, because Luke would have had his green saber from Return of the Jedi. The blue one doesn't come back into play till Maz has it in her castle in Force Awakens, gives it to Rey at that point, or I guess gives it to Finn. So that lightsaber, which was Anakin's, had been lost for who knows however long until Maz got it.
So Maz got it, and then that's the one that Rey has. So that's the one, and then Leia has the other blue one.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
But in the flashback training scene, obviously that's happening in the wake of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Obviously, Luke would have his green saber from Return of the Jedi.
Wouldn't it be cooler to give Leia a green saber or something, just so visually at the end it would look a little bit different? You could tell instead of just the blue lightsabers.
Yeah. How did you feel about Leia? The reveal that she had gone through Jedi training.
Again, it falls into the same umbrella for me where it's like, I should really care about this. It was just one of those yeah, sure, I guess.
It's absolutely one of those things where if Carrie Fisher was alive and in this movie, it would be a huge reveal. Like they'd be like, oh, you're tough, but you're no Jedi. And she's like, well, guess what? Boom.
Yeah, I also flew through space. You should have seen it. It was sweet.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was crazy to me that the CG for young Mark Hamill looked so good. And then the CG for young Carrie Fisher was like, Jesus Christ. I really did not think that worked.
That's been a big challenge for them, hasn't it?
Yeah, but it's been years since Rogue One. I really thought they would have pulled it off and slow reveal the visor. And then it's like, no, they didn't get it.
It did look pretty off. Yeah. Which is weird because Marvel is doing that on a pretty regular basis, right?
Well, that's the question. For young Mark Hamill there then, did they actually get Mark Hamill to act that and de-age him? I just feel like with the face
it obviously wasn't his body, so...
Right. But is there any benefit to facial capture for that? I feel like you could just go from scratch at that point, right?
Yeah, I have no idea how the tech works.
And this is the most important thing to talk about with Rise of Skywalker. What did you think of Mark Hamill's ghost hair? It was a little long and weird, right?
I thought he let it go a little bit as a ghost.
So
I was like... Come on, Luke.
There's some cupcakes in Force Heaven.
Yeah,
Hello.
I know you're dead, but you can still... You've got a lightsaber, presumably, with your ghost self that could cut your ghost hair. I don't know. Yeah, I was like, that hair is pretty long, Luke.
It's weird. I think maybe they wanted to give him a slightly different look, I guess.
I guess. So speaking of Dead Jedi, what did you think of all the voices? Basically?
I thought that was cool. I was lost for a while. I'm like, okay, I got Sam Jackson. Okay, Hayden Christensen, that's awesome. They reused the Obi-Wan
Liam
Kenobi.
Neeson, obviously.
I missed Liam Neeson.
Oh, really?
That's so stupid.
That was the most recognized. I was like, okay, I got to listen into all these voices. Gotcha, Liam Neeson.
He was the main
gotcha,
one. Okay.
Ewan McGregor.
Yep.
And then I was like, Sam Jackson. And then just got away from me.
God, that's so stupid. I can't believe I didn't realize it was Liam Neeson.
But did you see the names listed in the credits?
No, I didn't stick around for that.
Okay, so they had a list of voices of the dead Jedi. So it had Hayden Christensen listed. It had Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, and then it had Freddie Prinze Jr. as Kanan Jarrus from Rebels.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
I did not recognize the voice, and he's got a pretty recognizable voice.
Yeah.
So, but it's awesome that they included.
That's really great.
Yeah. Plus Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka Tano.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So. That's I was like, I'm all in on that stuff, even though I will have to listen for it specifically because I didn't hear it and just had to read it in the credits.
Right, that's amazing. Yep. That's so incredible they did that. And then they also had Alec Guinness in there for his little Rey line, which
Rey.
It was fun. When Rey was crawling around in the second Death Star in the ruins, like climbing on the pillar, like exact Alec Guinness style,
totally.
like Obi-Wan going around in A New Hope.
By the way, side note, did you know that Alec Guinness was wearing a hairpiece in the original trilogy?
No.
He had a toupee on. I had no idea.
Huh,
Yeah.
Weird. The finale, not going back to Tatooine yet, but the big showdown with the Emperor. What did you think about that?
Okay, here's two things I like about it.
Okay.
She doesn't like have a big lightsaber battle with the Emperor and kill him that way. Anything like that, I think, kind of cheapens the way that Luke won in Return of the Jedi, which was nonviolence, right? Which is still the best ending to any Star Wars movie, in my opinion. So I like that it was just about her defending herself.
Yeah.
And his lightning basically reflects back and, finishes the job that Samuel L. Jackson started.
Oh, that's interesting.
In Revenge of the Sith by totally disintegrating him. So I like that, she was like, defend. It wasn't an aggressive move that defeated him. It was just her, protecting herself. And then I also
she was marching towards him. It was kind of threatening.
That's true. Okay. She was crossing those lightsabers in a very aggressive X.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I like that it came down to like a choice between good and evil. Like she can choose to be Palpatine or she can choose to be Skywalker, basically.
Right.
And I think that is, one of the major themes of all 9 movies. So I like that it comes. And so what I'm saying is it doesn't come down to like destiny. You are destined to be evil or you're destined to be good. It's like everybody has the choice to make.
Yeah, and I liked even the logical conundrum that he put her into where it's like, well, look up there, all your friends are dying.
Yeah.
If you want to take control of the fleet, you can shut it down. I wish they would have leaned a little bit more into that.
Classic Sheev move.
Very much so. No, I thought it was cool though. And like, I wish they would have leaned into it a little bit more of just like, hey, you can do whatever you want with this fleet. You can send them off, do exactly as you want, instead of just like strike me down, do the Sith thing, and then everyone in the crowds, do the Sith thing.
Yeah. That's kind of that's Palpatine's main move is like you can save the people that you love if you just agree, if you just take my route and take my power.
Do you think that it was more conniving than he was letting on, and if she would have hit him down, and because he's like, oh, I'll live on through you, but would have been Rey like, yeah, cool, now I'm all powerful, and then like, oh no, I'm turning into Sheev.
Totally, yeah. I that is my assumption, is that it was like he would be able to influence her kind of, and he would live on that way because it's the Sith way is that they're afraid of like death or whatever, and so that's how I think. His plan is that he can live on in that way. Also, it's a little Dark Empire.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Dark Empire was the old comic series from like 1991. That it was like the first Dark Horse comic series, I think, and that one had cloned Emperor, like trying to shoot his mind into other people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
Okay,
but
it's fun to think about weird, ugly Emperor and. Good genes, though, apparently. Hey, producing Daisy Ridley,
seriously.
Not bad, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't that bad looking when he was good old Senator Palpatine from Naboo, right?
He was fine looking, I guess. Oh, I loved when he called Leia the princess from Alderaan.
Yeah.
Like, that was such a fun connection. Like, all those connections to the prequels actually were really exciting to me as somebody who's not a huge fan of the prequels. Even, like, in the beginning, like, in the text crawl, which, by the way, the dead speak, which was all right, sure.
Okay.
But when it says like, that Kylo Ren is hunting for the Phantom Emperor, it's like, oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, call back to the Phantom Menace. Love that. Love revenge in all caps.
Right,
which was kind of nice too.
Yeah, and then like the Emperor in his first scene, it is a little bit ham-fisted, but when he's like, some consider unnatural. It's like, okay, it's like poetry, it rhymes. I guess you got to say the whole thing here,
Yeah. I like how they kind of introduced him there where you could tell he was a little ethereal almost, where you would see him from his face from one angle and then from a different angle.
Yeah, it was just the lighting was just all over the place.
Yeah.
In that, what is the name? Excelsior? What's the name of the planet? Exelgesis?
I have no idea.
I'm sorry. If you're watching this after the fact, we are fresh out of these theaters.
Pisana. I know that one.
That was just the whole logic for the entire Resistance or Rebellion at this point of just saying, like, the only move we have is to go directly to the Emperor. It's like, this is the catalyst for the film. Is we need this Pathfinder so desperately so that we can go to where the Emperor is. Like, just sit back. It seems like the First Order and the Emperor, they'll probably just tear each other apart because like there's natural friction going on there.
Yeah. And it makes you realize that one thing that the Star Wars movies really haven't done is spend a lot of time like trying to find a doodad that will let you go somewhere else, which is what, kind of the first half of this movie is all about, I feel like.
Yeah, it really didn't work for me. And then it's like, okay, it's destroyed, so you need Kylo Ren. It's like, okay, cool. But then it's like, what was going on? There was just a second one in his tie.
See, that's the thing in the first like scene of the movie, he's on like that fall planet or whatever. It looks like autumn, and he finds it in there. So he finds it, plugs it into his tie. So he had one,
Okay,
and
so that was still
for
that
reasons
one.
of the movie that there were two, So that one got destroyed, and then she just had.
It was so insane. By the end of the movie, I was thinking about the fact that like Kylo Ren's my favorite character of the sequel trilogy. He's dead. It's like that. Just I felt like that was so fast. It was crazy seeing him on the ground, but like I think it was an interesting idea to kind of go for like that Romeo and Juliet ending of like you're dead, you're alive, no, vice versa.
Yeah. I didn't think of that connection, but yeah. Are you happy that he got a little makeout before he bit the dust?
Solid kiss. He seemed happy, so I'm happy for him.
He was happy with it, yes. So, I don't think there were any big like Reylo shippers in the audience with me, because I feel like there would have been like screams of anguish when they kiss and then he immediately dies.
What got the biggest reaction from your audience?
Probably some of the laugh stuff with Babu Frick and 3PO.
Okay.
I think.
It was weird. I was not expecting this. I think the biggest reaction was Hux saying, "I was the spy." Like people really reacted strongly to that.
Yeah, that's great. Let's say a prayer for our man Hux.
That was a fast death, man.
Yeah, I really got into him, on the more recent rewatches of 7 and 8.
Yeah,
and he had a few nice moments here.
Right. Why do you think they just wanted somebody to have that one line of like, "I served you in the last war"? So we want some old timer in there? That was such a weird replacement.
I guess they needed some way for the Resistance to be informed of this plan, right? And it's actually a pretty logical character development for Hux to be such a whiny baby wiener that he is like... goes against his, entire life of the First Order and undermines it just to get back at Kylo Ren for being the supreme leader instead of him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like that part a lot.
Yeah. It was funny that his clever ruse did not fool, old guy for a second. They just shot him immediately. That got a big reaction too.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Just him getting shot.
Well, I like the detail too, even of him telling Finn to shoot him in the arm, then Finn's like, okay, and just shot him in the leg. It's like, this is extra F you, buddy. I'm not going to do exactly what you think.
Yeah, if anybody deserves it, it's Hux.
That's true. Okay, this is, again, very fresh in my mind. What was Finn going to tell?
I have that question as well.
They never cleared that up, did they?
They didn't. Do you think he was going to tell her that he's like, I can use the Force, I think? Because he's definitely using the Force in this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm a big like fan of the reading where literally everyone can use the Force.
Controversial.
Yep. It's not just it's not just a midi-chlorian count thing.
Yeah, everybody can use it a little bit.
Or a family, thing. Yeah, everybody has, access to the Force.
Do you think they just wanted to open that door just a little bit, just in case they want to go there in the future, right?
I think so, yeah. And so, because there's so many points in the movie, like 3 or 4 times where he's like, I have this feeling about it. We should do this.
A Peter Tingle,
and it's, yeah, exactly. And it's totally correct every time. But what do you think? What do you think he was going to tell her? Because
probably that, or like, it's like that he's always been in love with her or something. But it's like, I don't know.
You always feel like it's
how many love interests does he need? He's at like 5 at this point.
I know. He can't make up his mind, really.
That's true.
Yeah.
I was thinking of like the biggest reaction in the theater, and maybe it's just that I got a big laugh out of it, was I really loved towards the end seeing Poe look at Kerry Russell's character and like Should we kiss?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, never mind. Like just his expressions there were so good.
Yes.
It's like that was the like little charming moments that I feel like I could use more of in the movie.
You know what I thought you were going to say is the moment where Poe holds Finn's hand and 3PO's hand, and he's like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, now the moment's ruined, 3PO.
Right. Yeah, they really hate 3PO in this film.
Yeah, Carrie Russell, I'm always a big fan of hers.
I think her design looked cool.
Yeah, she didn't get any screen time with Greg Grunberg, R.I.P., which is a shame for the Felicity fans out there.
It's really a damn shame.
Yeah.
That was one of my least favorite moments of the movie, too, just realizing, like, wait, okay, so the new Carrie Russell character, she went from, hey, you got a lot of nerve showing your face around here, to then suddenly like, oh, we're cool.
I'm
like,
with you.
What was it?
Take my invaluable thing.
Right. She said something like, okay, if we turn Rey in, we might be doing all right. And then it's like, bam, 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 taking the guards out, Rey's fighting, puts a lightsaber on her, and then Carrie Russell's just like, you're all right.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
I guess it kind of fits into the theme of there's more of us than there are of them, and if you just give people a chance to be good, they'll help you out. I don't know.
Did you feel something when all the ships came by in the end? It just felt to me, I'll cut you off before you answer. It felt to me just like, and I know timeline-wise it's probably not as direct as this, but it's like, oh, we just had this with Endgame, and that moment at Endgame is one of the greatest moments that I've seen in pop culture for the last 10 years, you know? And then like, here's the big thing again where, surprise, everybody's coming. And it's like, I don't feel it. Because it's just because they hinted, it's just, there's no universe where it's not going to happen.
The problem, I think, is that they spoiled that shot in the trailer.
That's true, they did.
Yeah, if you didn't see that, and then
but still,
the movie
even
happens,
Poe was so many times was like, we sent out the signal, nobody came.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? If only we had more ships. What are you going to do, you know?
Yeah. And then he gets the radio signal that's like, on your right.
Yes, exactly. It really was exactly that.
I will say I was happy that Wedge showed up and got half a second of screen time.
He really did it, man.
Yeah.
He really did it. I didn't see it coming.
Of course, I'm super happy to see the Ghost there. That's the ship from Star Wars Rebels, which also showed up in Rogue One, which made a lot of sense in that movie. But in this one, you're like, whoa, they're still hanging around.
I remember dissecting in the trailer, I guess, in the action. I guess I didn't focus on it too much. Was it doing cool stuff or anything notable?
I mean, it showed up in a few shots. And,
okay.
Yeah. And then I think it lands down for the celebration at the end, just so you can be assured that it survived and everybody's okay.
Hey, Ewoks.
Yeah, Ewoks.
They all see it from their planet. Your favorite thing of everyone seeing just a Star Destroyer come down. It's like, this is a stretch, but sure.
Yeah, in this case, it makes sense because there's a Star Destroyer at every planet.
Right, because they're ready to blow it up. I guess that's a good point.
Yeah, I was a little sad that those Ewoks didn't blink like the special edition ones.
Very disappointing.
Yeah.
Should they?
But I like seeing the Ewoks.
Yeah. That seems like a good opportunity. Like you could have kept going through other planets, right?
Yeah.
Would that be too fan service-y for you if they showed Naboo and everything?
Honestly, at this point, I'm all in. Just give me all the planets.
Right.
You know, let's go to every planet that has like people on it that could be happy that the First Order is gone.
Yeah.
Another weird thing is that the First Order is just kind of like shunted aside here. Like they were a big threat for the entire galaxy, but now all of a sudden it's just this fleet that is the threat, which makes sense because they have miniaturized super weapons on all the ships, which was the funniest like eye roller of the whole movie.
Yeah, and just the idea that like, okay, you know, they had a good line. I did like the line where like, what are these? Like, it's just people, sir, or whatever that was towards the end. I was like, oh, it's just a bunch of people, random ships that are attacking us. But still, seeing that they took out like over 5 of those destroyers, like what the hell? How is everybody doing this? Like I don't understand it.
It's doing a great job. Yeah,
they're all good. Look, they're having a good time. I was okay. What did you think about the return to Tatooine at the end?
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
I was like, what is she gonna be doing here? So she buries the
Force digs.
Yeah, Force digs. New power. I didn't see her get trained in Force digging.
Yeah, come on, man. Yeah.
Plot hole.
Exactly.
Yeah, burying the lightsabers. That's cool. You knew she was gonna say Rey Skywalker at some point. So when the old lady comes by, I wish it was the same old lady from Episode 1. That's like, "Storm's coming, Annie."
That would have been awesome.
Yes, just a real fan service callback for the true fans like me. Yeah.
It's weird to end the entire saga, with random old woman saying, "What is your name?"
Yes. Okay. Everybody wants to know her last name. Yeah.
Which is never
And I
been
like-
a thing in the Star Wars universe of like James Bond. Like people don't do that style of introduction, do they?
I love that, like, you had the timely appearance by Luke and Leia Ghost going like, it's okay. Yeah, say it,
Right.
please.
Come on.
Yep.
And it's going to be nice where that's clearly a way to transition to a new generation at some point in the future is like go dig up those lightsabers. Like,
Right.
That's super fun, right?
Yeah. 40 years from now,
Yeah.
like somebody's going to dig those up. It's going to be amazing.
I've probably had this thought. We probably just talked about it when we were talking about Star Wars for 5 hours for the commentaries, but it's so stupid. But then during that movie, I was like, I don't think I've ever thought about the twins of Luke and Leia and the twin sons. Have you thought of that? Is every Star Wars fan just like, yeah, of course, that's like a beautiful little poetry it rhymes thing?
Yeah, I guess. I think that observation has been made. Although it's kind of weird, Leia never really spent any time on Tatooine. So
Right, yeah. Well, now
but I guess they can't go to Alderaan, so
That's
you gotta
true.
go somewhere.
So Han's dice, where are those right now? Are they still on?
They're still on the Falcon, I think, because Luke, the ones Luke had when he showed up on Crate were just imaginary dice,
Right.
like him.
Yeah.
So
they should have thrown that in the sandpit too.
I thought of that too. This is when I hear that there's a lot of fan service. I expect these dice to be all over the place.
I was struck. It was a full theater IMAX here in Minnesota, and a smattering of applause at the end.
Oh,
Very light. How did your crowd?
no applause at mine.
Really?
No.
I'm
fine with that. As a Minnesotan, I feel very vicariously embarrassed when that happens.
Yeah. I like it if a movie really earns it. I just felt like I think I was expecting more for like, the big conclusion. It was kind of striking that it's just about 20 people in this theater put their hands together for a little while. Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah.
What'd you think about Evil Ray? Basically doing the
Figured it was
Empire
gonna
move
be-
again.
Yeah, figured it was going to be a vision, and it was. So
Yeah.
it's
I
fine.
liked it towards the end.
She gave
She's
the Bilbo Baggins thing.
yeah. She kind of looked like Melina from Mortal Kombat all of a sudden. I was like, what's going on here? Yeah. Let's see. I wrote down Rose a 0. Is the convoy coming? Snoke clones. Rey's parents more confusing now. Yep, that's true. That's true. I don't know how to feel about it, man. I think
Were you hoping for an Unkar Plutt comeback in this one?
it's hoping for something.
Like,
oh yeah,
he's going to deliver some crucial exposition.
man. Yeah, just that idea of like, that ship's familiar.
Yep.
The lightning out of her hands in that scene was interesting.
Where she destroys the ship that she
Yes.
thinks Chewie is on.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was probably the most interesting moment of the film for me. Like her reaction.
It was a big surprise. I think that got like a gasp in the theater.
Okay, good. All right, there we go. Other big beats that we missed. I'm trying to think. There's got to be 1,000 things here. Oh, I
A
loved
million things happened in this movie.
Oh boy, did they! I love seeing in the beginning Poe flying the Falcon. That's super fun, right?
Yep.
Beating the hell out of it. And the weird warp speed jumping. It's like that's a really cool idea, right?
Hyperspace skipping. Is that
Yeah,
what he called it?
skipping. Yeah.
And I'm like, should I be recognizing these planets? I had no idea though.
Yeah, just randomly going through the big creature, and
Yep.
the TIE fighters cannot keep up.
Yep. They leaned really heavily on the 3 main character dynamic in this
Yeah.
one, which is fun because that hadn't really happened with these 3 characters. So, and like I said, I think moment to moment fun is what J.J. Abrams does best.
Yeah.
So
Just that little line. I
that
think
was the real strength of the movie, I thought.
for sure, like that little line that Poe had after she did the Jedi mind trick, and he's like, "Did she do that to us?" Like that was super
Yeah.
fun. Like that. Those little moments were definitely hidden in
or
there.
where they're like, you were a spice hauler or whatever.
Did you enjoy that? Because they kept calling back that. I'm like, I don't think that was that funny. Is it that insulting to haul spice?
I guess. Well, spice is like drugs in Star Wars. So
Oh, maybe I didn't understand that
means-
connection.
Yeah, that means he was like he had the trunk of his car full of weed and he was crossing state lines with it. Yeah.
Boy, if I didn't get that joke.
Yeah. See,
The rest of
that's
the
probably
theater.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, for that to be the big callback
Yeah,
punchline.
so it's like it's like an embarrassing thing in his
Right.
past,
Right.
Or it's like like for a good guy,
Yeah. The big, tall, blue medical droid, my boy, was
nowhere
not
to be seen.
Nowhere to
Oh,
be
that's it.
seen.
Must have been on one of those ships that got blown up on Crate, right?
Yeah.
Or was he in Crate eventually? I don't remember.
I think he
we
was. I think he was there towards the
I
end.
mean, I was really glad that they still had Resistance battleship at their new base. Remember
Oh,
those
sure.
screens with the
Yep.
little keypads on either
Well,
side?
you
Yeah.
need that,
Yeah.
absolutely. Let's see. There's something else with that entire plan. Oh, let me try and think.
I wish there had been more kind of like fun story beats during the space battle. It was just kind of generic space laser action, which is fun. But,
Yeah.
you know, I was hoping there'd be more of it. Like, we got to try to do this. We got to do that.
Well, I feel like they were saying a lot of things, but I just couldn't keep up. It was like, oh, we're not using speeders. We got the horses. Like, okay, and what are they down there? What are they trying to do exactly? Disable some radar to allow for everything? It's just like everything was flying so fast.
Yeah, the radar thing, they were like, the ships can't take off unless they have their beacon or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're like, if we do that, they'll be stuck here. They can't get out to the galaxy. So
Did you like Palpatine when he made that big electricity tree out into the hit every ship with it?
yeah, and it did not destroy the ships, but it was very dangerous, which is crucial for putting people in peril. I mean, that was his whole plan, I guess. So,
Right.
He's
But I
like,
just love, like-
everyone is in peril.
It was so nonchalant though. I love it when like Poe gets control of the X-wing again. He's like, "All right, things are back online. Like
Yes.
just whatever. Everybody's ship shut down.
Who
for a
knows what
while.
that lightning
What are you
is?
gonna
This
do?"
whole thing is very weird, everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I did like the tension too between the three of like Rey, you're wasting your time with this training, and like Finn trying to get her back a little bit. But then I felt like so much of the movie was like Rey's gonna do mysterious Rey things, and like we just kind of gotta let it happen because hopefully it'll pay off in a big way.
Yeah, and she didn't get split off from them, but Finn was always like chasing after her wherever she was going. And
Yeah.
he's like, he's gonna tell her this time what he wanted to tell her in the quicksand. Didn't happen.
Quicksand and she healed the big snake.
Yeah.
That was like the slowest scene of the film was healing the snake.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Also, the whole thing with Janna and all those people being former stormtroopers.
Oh yeah.
And I get that's kind of like the theme of the movie is like there are more good people than bad people, and they just need a chance to prove it. But I was like, what does this mean for Finn? Like, what's happening here? I thought maybe there'd be.
I mean, he's probably just going to go back and live there, right? Is that just the natural idea, right? Like,
Yeah, I suppose.
everybody has their home.
Yeah.
Poe will go with Kerry Russell, who they were mortal enemies 40 minutes ago, but now suddenly, they're best buds.
Yeah. Are you surprised Carrie didn't take her helmet off at all? We did see the eyes and
You
a
kinda
wisp
saw
of
the
hair
eyes.
that was going to get caught in that helmet.
That's true. That was stressing me out now that you mentioned it.
Yeah, but I think that was for the Felicity crowd again to prove that she did not have short hair. She had her long hair. That was a big
these are
Felicity controversy.
deep Felicity cuts. I can't handle it. So overall, you think good job?
I had fun with it. It is not my favorite Star Wars.
Well, now you can do the official ranking.
Ooh, that's gonna be tough. Episode 4, number 1 forever, though.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
What's your number 1?
That's a good question. I think last time I rewatched the original trilogy, it was like New Hope is so much better and funnier than I remember.
Yeah.
So probably, but then as a dumb kid, it was Return of the Jedi. But now I'm kind of Return of the Jedi still has so many of my favorite moments. Mm-hmm. I'll probably say New Hope too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Empire is a very popular pick these days.
I know. Look, I understand.
And it's
we're gonna
great.
get lit up.
It's great.
Hey, it's great. No questions asked. It's cool to see Cloud City at the end.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
That was nice.
Lando obviously not in charge there anymore.
Right. He's moved on. He's got to go on a journey to find where this lady's from. I don't know, man. I think maybe it's just the downside of reading too much and just focusing too much on the business and the industry side of things. But it's just like, it really bummed me out to just, I thought of this movie as like a film from a corporation more than any other Star Wars movie. And it really bummed me out. I think it's just.
More than Solo.
I think so.
Okay.
I think I felt more heart with Solo than this movie.
Gotcha. Okay.
You don't have to say gotcha. You can call me insane.
No, I that's a fair take.
And maybe I'll rewatch it, and when I understand things and can process exactly all the beats, it's like, I got the idea. We need the thing to do the thing. Like, it's not too fantastical, but it's just so many of those scenes. Like, just stop and soak it in. It's like I wanted to scream at the movie, like, this is it. This is the end of the Skywalker saga. Take your time. Have something to say.
Yeah.
And like, I was so turned off. One of my biggest turnoffs is I saw this interview with J.J. Abrams where he's talking about, and I talked about it, I think, on MinnMax podcast, but where J.J. Abrams was like, well, there's like the big blockbuster story you have to tell, but then in each movie, there's kind of like a little story that I want to tell, and like I really am proud of Rey's story in this one. And like that just bummed me out to think about.
It's a weird way to approach it.
Yeah. It's just like, you can kind of see it. It's like, okay, the MacGuffin of the Pathfinder, and then I don't know, the Final Order, blah. But it's like JJ doesn't
to do that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do the Star Wars film that moves your heart. And like, I understand there's fun things like Chewie getting the medal. Like he has his little nods in there that probably make him very happy as a fan.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like that's something that Rian Johnson brought forth is like he used writing Last Jedi to like help digest and think about Star Wars and what it means to him. And I understand it doesn't work for some people, it works for some people, but at least it felt like he was going for something instead of just keep moving, doesn't matter, just keep moving.
And I mean, taking it back to Empire Strikes Back, that is in some ways the least blockbustery of all of them because there's no like climactic final battle. It's very personal stakes on all that stuff, and I think that's what kind of JJ is talking about that he really liked was the the more personal aspects of the story. So, I mean, you could just do that. And I think, what's also weird is I think that Last Jedi was kind of setting that up in some ways with, Snoke being taken out of the picture and it's Kylo Ren in charge over here and it's Rey as, a more confident, Jedi in training over here.
Right.
And,
What I want to see out of any future expanded content is I want to see the moment when Palpatine spoke. That sounds fascinating. Do you think it was
sure.
Do you think it was literally like it sounds very Twilight Zone or something. Like it's such a fun idea. Just everybody in the universe all of a sudden was like, who is this voice in my head?
Yeah.
Do you think it was just in their heads?
That's probably cooler than him just having a TV, break in. Everybody's watching the news and he just shows up. I guess.
Don't look at my
really
fingers.
Thought about it, but yeah. So hopefully something with the Force. I guess.
And they'll probably come up with a good name for it in the future too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But that was weird when he tried to use electricity at the end, and like his fingertips weren't there, and so he couldn't use it. So he had to suck the life. Everyone was sucking life out of everybody else.
Yeah, and then you had the whole dyad thing.
Can you explain what that was?
It's just a imaginary force thing, I guess. I don't know.
So what?
It's
Kylo Ren said it, like where the dyad or something.
It's just, I think it's a way to explain how they are able to continue talking to each other through the Force.
That's called the dyad?
No, it's like basically saying these two have a crazy special connection in some way.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Like the Chosen One was like, prophesized, special Jedi.
Yeah.
And the dyad is like two people who are special together.
Gotcha.
It's just a way to explain how they have their connection and then how he can like somehow suck their life out to create himself.
Yeah.
And he got a nice little red undershirt. Did you notice that?
Yeah, where did you pull that from?
Yeah, pulled that from them, clearly.
Maybe somebody in the crowd like had a t-shirt cannon, they blasted to him and you couldn't
never
see
really
it.
saw any of those people out
What
there.
the hell was that?
I don't know, just
Are they all other children of his? That'd be cool. Huh?
Oh, yeah, that's what it should be.
Seriously, how is he bringing people to this? Oh, another thing I loved. I should have led with this because we talked about things we liked out of the gate. I loved the lore detail that C-3PO understands Sith but can't say it out loud.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of cool.
Effing cool.
Yeah, he's like, well, the Senate passed this regulation, and they're like, Senate talk. We can't have that in a J.J. Abrams Star Wars.
Yeah. That might have captured my
fun.
imagination more than anything else in the film. It's like, oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah. How did you feel about the special dagger that can tell you exactly where the thing is on the broken Death Star if you stand in this one spot?
I thought that was so stupid.
It was very Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he's got to put the staff in, and the sun has to be on that one day.
But that makes more sense, right?
Because there's a special place to put the staff. Yeah.
Right, but just the dagger
just
was
stand
made
anywhere, and you can just
not only that, but stand on a planet where eventually that Death Star will explode and crash onto in a certain way. But the Force is weird, right?
Right, yeah. So this is a different moon, like Endor.
Yes.
So it's like a neighbor moon.
Right, and they called it the Endor system, right?
Yeah.
Which is fun.
I kind of wish that they had just been on the forest moon,
Do you
which is
think?
not named Endor, I guess.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, if you're gonna go to the broken Death Star, just to have some Ewoks there too.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah.
I'm glad we saw him though at the end.
Do you think Chewie should have gone out with a fight? when he was being captured. Sorry, just thinking about other scenes.
Yeah.
I was struck by that. I was like, wait, Chewie just like walks onto the ship?
Right. Yeah, they just kind of captured him, I guess.
I think that was another thing. Is just I felt like there was no stakes, and it's Star Wars. I know it doesn't need to be grimdark or anything, but like even literally the scene where they're like, all right, well now I guess Hux is going to shoot us all in the back, and they're all just like lightly talking to each other, but it's like, what the hell? Or even like as they're sinking into the quicksand, I know that, you know, Finn was like, oh, I have something to say to you, but still everyone else is just like this assumption of like, well, we're drowning, but some force thing will save us, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's just kind of the nature of modern, like, you know, like Marvel movies. You're never like, these people are gonna die, maybe.
Right.
So
yeah, and it's like in Marvel movies, it always drives me nuts. Yeah, because like just little things like in Black Panther during that like scene that's in Korea, I think, and there's that big like visual gag where the one lady is like in the car as it's like being dismantled.
Sure,
it's like, I just think like, well, this ruins all
so
tension
dangerous.
now because it's just like it's just in cartoon land, you know?
Yeah.
Which is always one of my favorite things, and I talk about it way too much. But I love Incredibles; it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And Brad Bird I think it was the commentary, talked about the purpose of that opening scene in The Incredibles where it's like the flashback to Mr. Incredible in his prime, remember, and he's trying to take out Bon Voyage, he's like, every superhero movie drives me insane because every superhero movie starts and they want the hero to do something really cool. Mm-hmm. But by doing something really cool in the opening scene and showing how powerful they are, it like lowers the stakes for the rest of the movie. Because if you have for the big hero moment in the beginning, then you know that they can get out of any situation, that they're all powerful. And like that's why Mr. Incredible and the entire opening sequence there is struggling and failing just to set up the stakes that he's human.
That's interesting because that's a classic thing in like action type movies.
Yeah.
Is you establish what the hero is capable of
right
out the gate. They do that in Mandalorian in the first episode. He's very cool as he picks up his bounty and takes it in before the actual story starts.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to come back and do a big spoiler for Mandalorian?
We got to do it. I have been loving The Mandalorian.
Okay.
So much.
I'm saving all my opinions on The Mandalorian until we record the next Max spoilers. By the way, it's very funny to look at the MinnMax YouTube channel because like the Max spoilers section, it's only Star Wars stuff so far.
Nice.
I'm sorry, everybody. We'll get back into another rhythm and we'll do spoilers. I still think we want to do one for Death Stranding, hopefully once Kyle finishes.
Yeah, it's been a big Star Wars fall.
It is, and you've been a great help. Thank you so much for swinging by late at night to record this chat. Everyone on the Patreon loves you. So do you want to give out your hot Twitter handle again?
Yeah, @AreYouBadEnough on Twitter.
And what can they find there?
Some Rambo gifs, some some classic Nintendo talk, some Murder, She Wrote actions, so and a lot of great stuff that everybody loves.
There we go, sweet. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this conversation, well, it's too late now, but you could get an audio version of it by supporting the Patreon at the $5 level. We have a lot of exclusive audio going up as well. Some fun things coming up next week. So next week they're going to be exclusive to the Patreon. So patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Content like this is supported by the community on patreon.com/MinnMax.
And if you continue to support us and you're here long enough, you can even eventually hear me talk about Breath of the Wild 2.
Check us out. Thank you so much.